Today we're going to talk you through a shot that I would say most golfers we work with aren't able to hit. But if we were to ask a tour pro to hit, they'd have no problem doing it.
First try.
It'd be so easy. So here's a quick look at what that shot is. So by now they've gotten a glimpse of what this essential shot is, something I think that you really can't play high-level golf unless you have. And it's also a great exercise or drill for better ball striking. So, and what this is sort of flighted iron shots. When you're out on the golf course, you're not always hitting full out, launching, hopefully not. You're not always hitting high launching shots, okay? When you watch the tour pros, there's even some players, for example, Tommy Fleetwood, he's never making a full finish.
No.
Right? So there's a lot of shots where they're kind of carving it or arcing their swings or holding it off, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I hear people poo-poo the idea of holding things off, but I think a lot of tour players hit a lot of hold iron shots.
Exactly. There's plenty of guys that are flighting those shots. Now, yeah, there's various conditions, wind and everything, but even on a just flat normal day, 80 degrees, beautiful day, they're still flighting some shots because they got to take distance off. They want it to come in lower. When it's lower, they can usually control the dispersion a little better too.
It's easier to hit it straight when you flight it. When you start swinging all out and launching it way higher,
yes,
the ball kind of gets squirrely on you.
Milo, talk us through some of the positions that are achieved with this shot. When you watch a pro face on, which I'll add a video, what they're able to accomplish by being able to hit this shot and why you recommend this sort of exercise or shot to a lot of our students.
First thing I see is in order to be able to pull this shot off, the player will naturally flex down and move their chest a little more forward on top of the golf ball.
Okay.
Next thing is it's impossible to hit this shot without having rotation, or nearly impossible. I guess you could hold it like this, but then it's like...
Well, then you truly are dragging or pushing the handle.
Yeah.
But so, we're not after that. We're doing this more with...
We're turning the handle.
Yeah.
So the handle's basically passive, or relatively, there is some force being applied, but most of that force being applied is coming through how the chest is moving. And I think that's the key. Most people, the reason they can't hit this shot is they start to apply force like this, causing them to react. So they jump and they throw it at it and they mishit it and they wonder why. Being able to do some of the keys of flexing down and unwinding cleans up contact drastically.
Well, and in my experience, the biggest reasons people aren't able to hit this shot goes back to something sooner in the golf swing. A lot of times it's transition. You talked about how they're powering it. What I'll typically see, the pressure will be back too long, like you said.
Yeah.
So they don't get their chest and kind of their whole mass falling a little more on that lead side. They're kind of back. And then what I see from there is they kind of power and shift at the same time. So the club gets sent way back out. Their arms are actually kind of lagging behind and they start sliding and kind of tilting, pushing up out of the ground early. And when you get that, that's when the bottom gets kind of, there's variable there.
Yeah.
And you get a little bit scoopy, let's say.
And a question or an observance I see often is when I see a player's arms lagging.
Yes.
The reason they're lagging is not so much how they're using their arms, it's how they're using everything else.
Yeah.
So if I'm over here and now I decide I gotta hit it, I'm gonna shift and throw and I'm gonna have that space.
Yep.
Where if a player gets more flexed down and forward, naturally their trail arm takes up the slack.
Yep. So to me, what I see is they go together. You get somebody that probably turns a little flat, maybe they even lower in their backswing, and it's like a stand-up push off the right side, and once that happens, they have to start throwing that club out to get that club down to the ball. Yeah. So that's the combo. I don't know which is happening.
Chicken and egg.
You could be doing this and this is your body responding. You could be doing this and this is the club and your arms responding. I don't know, we don't know, but they go together. So sometimes we got to fix those two at the same time. So this is a great drill for that. So you can feel like, okay, now I'm up. Now this club is up. I can drop in, and that's the matchup. Now that club is up, and I can turn.
Yes.
And get the low point where I want it and hit these nice, tasty, flighted shots. That's what you see the pros hit regularly.
For sure. For all those at home, the question's going to come up, when I do that, I hit it fat.
Yes, I hit fat. Hey, sometimes we do too. But this is why we do some exaggerated exercises. And look, you're probably so far on the other side of the spectrum with how you're doing this from the top that, yeah, you're going to fat the crap out of it for the first few times. So it happens.
Have patience with yourself. That's what I'm getting at.
Just like when we have students that we're first working with them on creating a more flexed downswing, a more pivot-driven downswing, they start shanking it. Oh, well, yeah, when you've been powering it out like this for your whole playing career, you're going to probably start shanking it when you lower and turn because you're still powering it out. So you got to, again, this is why there's matchups, and we got to work on a couple things at once sometimes.
The key to keep in mind, if you start to do the correct thing with your body, over a little bit of time, your hands and arms will figure out a new task, and you'll start hitting it really good, better. But it won't be right away. So if you come out here and you say, oh, I'm doing it and I'm fatting it, I quit. Don't do that.
One last point on this. We've worked PGA Tour and LPGA Tour players who have done these drills and shanked it and chunked it, and they didn't get upset about it. It was not a big deal. They knew the movement was getting better. That's the key. You got to just be patient with it and understand that it's not going to be instantaneous, okay? But you better believe every tour player can hit this shot on command, and that is something that most of you at home probably don't quite have.
So let's go a little bit more into how we hit this shot.
Yes.
Because I explained some of the basic principles. The chest is dropping, the chest is turning.
Yes.
The hands are not powering it.
Yep. For me, there's a matchup, and this matchup is my right wrist and my chest. If I can just feel those two go together, I can execute this shot pretty much on command. Directionally, maybe not always, but the flight of it, I can get that flight down, right, the way I want.
And so when you say your right wrist and your chest go together, what exactly are you getting at?
I feel like, let me show it this angle, this right palm of my hand is parallel to my chest, okay? Now when that matchup happens, you see my right wrist goes into quite a bit of extension. So that right hand, the palm, matches my chest. They're parallel, okay? And I feel like from here, if I'm sort of at the shaft parallel to ground, these are still aligned. And I just turn that unit into the ball and maintain that matchup. Boom. So you've done a video before on the shaft, well, most of the downswing being relatively parallel with our chest.
I call it the parallel lines drill.
So this is the same idea, that this shaft is parallel with my chest.
It starts to be parallel about here, and I want to feel like it's parallel all the way to the ball.
So show us one where you're going to have that parallel relationship for a while.
But I like to think of it with the palm. I think that's maybe an easier combo for people to understand, is that if I have that hand bent back like that, matching my chest, now I just go whoosh, whoosh. And you better believe my dynamic loft, which is crucial to distance and trajectory, which most people, their dynamic loft is this at impact. If my dynamic loft is more like that, you're talking more compression, you're talking a lower flight, all the tasty things we're after.
All
right?
the good stuff.
Yes. For me, I really feel like my chest is on top and the club is back. Hold that club head for me. You're going to feel like you're pushing that up into my hand. It feels like it's pushing up into my hand. I'm not pushing the club head down.
Yes.
This feels like it's going into my hand, and that's matching my chest turn. I feel like the club is staying back
That's a similar feel to what I have.
Yes.
I feel like the club stays up and back,
Yes.
and my chest gets down and turns. If I do those two things, I get that.
You can think of it like if I had a sand wedge at 54 degrees is what my sand wedge is. When I come into impact with that 54, I'm actually de-lofting it some amount. So that's creating more of that lower flight, higher spin shot like the pros are hitting. Because they're launching wedges sub 30, you know? You guys at home are probably launching your wedges 35 and up. Who knows?
Yeah, we've had students show up and launch their 7-iron 35.
Yeah, this is a big problem we see, and it's causing you to lose distance and make solid impact. So Milo, I'm gonna move this camera. I want you to show them face on a few examples of this. They saw me do it earlier, but now they're gonna see you.
Okay. What the right wrist and the chest look like from face on would be, so I'm winding up. Now I'm turning. If I open my palm, I can see my palm and my chest are basically pointing in the exact same direction here. And then I just keep turning that into the golf ball. Something like that, and it produces a nice little bullet, low flight.
Now they could also, as a test, hit some a little shorter and slower, where they don't unload the angles, right, on the front end.
So that would be where I never let that angle go, so you can see the angle is still intact all the way around.
You really exaggerated that one.
Yes.
And sometimes you see tour pros get close to that, maybe not that extreme.
Yeah.
But more so for us, it's a great way to exaggerate it and turn on the pivot, because so many people don't know how to unwind through the golf ball.
Yeah, so if I keep this parallel here, there's only one way to get back to the golf ball. That's to get my pivot to keep turning.
Bingo.
And that's why we use it as a foundational drill. So one last one, I'll add a little bit of speed.
Nice work, Milo. I think that shows them sort of the impact we're looking for with this flighted shot, and why we think it's such a crucial shot to train and have in your arsenal. Again, most golfers we see and work with aren't able to, at first, accomplish this essential shot we think it is. So if we can get the dynamic loft right, you're going to be able to pivot and do some really cool things in your golf swing that maybe you haven't been able to do before. So add this shot into your practice, and we promise you'll start hitting it better and controlling your ball flight more.
For sure. So hopefully you all liked this video. If you did, like and subscribe. Come visit us at milolinesgolf.com, where we have way more content like this and more drills that will be specific to your needs to help you learn to swing like an athlete and play the best golf of your life.